Yay. Okay, I'm gonna call me to order. First thing we're gonna do is pledge of allegiance. Do I have a volunteer to lead us in the pledge of allegiance? All right. Go, Cynthia.
Could you all please stand? All right, and the flag. All right. So if you will say with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, can we do a roll call?
Marquez de la Plata,
Here.
Mike Nichols,
Here.
Betsy Van Dyke. Here. Cynthia Strucker. Here. Vicky Clues. Here. Kathy Dahl. Here. Lisa Nominson. Here. And I believe Lonnie is absent. And Joe and Spencer, correct?
First time.
And Lisa is. Here.
Okay, everyone's got the agenda in front of them. Can I get a council member to move to approve or not? Second, anyone? Let's do a raising hands.
You can just do a voice, but who was the first and the second? I'm sorry, it was Mike and
Then Betsy.
Betsy, thank you.
Okay. Now it's a statement of conflict of interest. Anyone on the council have a conflict with something on the agenda? Now time to make note of that. Anybody? Anybody? Yellow drive on the road. Hey,
Out of the county road.
okay. Then next is to the June 13th minutes. Everyone had a chance to read them?
Yes,
You have-
I did. I had a couple of
Okay.
thoughts. The first thing is kind of small. It says that Dan Sampson suggested having more than one flagpole. And I thought that was Thea, whose last name I don't know, but was it? Okay.
Her last name is Jackson.
Thank you. And the other thing is I saw in the minutes, no mention of Ed Smith. And he had spoken, quite a while and given the history of the flagpole, and he's with Rotary, how Rotary, donated the flagpole and put it up, and he was concerned about the way the flag, the protocol around raising and lowering the flag when the death of someone was being honored.
And I think that was recorded, but I don't think because I know Ed and Mia took the notes. I think he didn't state his name at the meeting, and that's why. But I think that she captured his comments and what he meant. But for this Dan, what was the name that was wrong?
It's not
Well,
Dan.
there was someone who spoke before Dan, it was Thea Jackson.
Okay,
And
and they were,
Dan just reiterated what she may have
said.
said, I think.
and I think it's just that they didn't know the name. Yeah, and I think that's okay. I don't think, if they didn't say their name, I don't think we have to go back and. But because they might not, if they don't wanna, they don't have to say their name, and maybe they didn't want it in minutes. I would just be uncomfortable putting that. Okay.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Second, anyone? Cynthia, so Betsy and Cynthia, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That's everyone. So just so everyone knows, as we go through the agenda, each item has a topic. And so with whoever is presenting will present, and then we will open it up to council member comments first. And then after those are done, we will go to the audience. And if you're in the audience, don't be offended if you don't get answered directly on what you talk about, especially in the public comments that are not on the agenda. It's not agendized. Okay, so we are gonna move to council member comments on matters not listed on the agenda. Anybody?
I'll say it real quick, but
Yeah.
we did have Rio Fest. And it was quite a good, big, success. There were 1,200 and some people who went to Rio Fest. So,
Great.
yeah.
Lisa?
I have one, there's a new group named Bike Friendly Forestville, which is meeting every third Wednesday, and they actually want to present to us, and they want to make a short presentation in August or September, to show what kind of the things that they're on about, and I'm a member of it, and, we want to do a short, Brian wants to do a short presentation,
Okay.
if that can be.
Yeah, we just get a little summary of what they want to do. We can look at it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else in the council? All right, anyone in the audience have a comment that's not on the agenda? If it is on the agenda somewhere, then we'll just do it later. Go ahead, Beth.
Don't stand on the.
Yes, stand on the.
I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for supporting the clean team, the Russian River Keeper Clean Team financially. It did kind of expand what they have to do because they're now training other communities on cleaning up after homeless camps. The whole concept of the clean team is a trash service, which, if you know, homeless camps, the one thing that they lack other than shelter, et cetera, is trash service. So Riverkeeper has a trash service that literally on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in certain communities, they are handed bags, they put the trash out by the curb, clean team picks it up, plus other trash cleanups. But also, one of the things in this last week, the Russian Riverkeeper also cleaned up a remarkable amount of trash that was left on the river over this holiday weekend. And if it weren't for Riverkeeper, our river would be horrendous. And so we really want to accolades, but also public support. I walk River Road and pick up trash, and of course, because of Lisa, I wear a high visibility shirt every time. Thank you very much. And I think this is one of the things that we can do. Also, the community stewardship committee has sent out notices of when there's going to be mowing, but it's vague as opposed to the actual day. So basically, the bottom line is this much you can get out there and clean the river road, work on the side, trash off the side of the road, the better. And what's going on with the mowers right now is amazing. The mowing and the ditch cleaning is remarkable, but we really have to get those roads cleaned up prior to them coming. Otherwise, there's millions and millions of tiny pieces of trash that is dispersed. So I just want to thank everybody who's working, volunteering, and whatever way to keep this area clean. And it does make a big difference. So thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Anyone else in the audience have a comment that's not on the agenda? What about online?
Is there anybody online that would like to make a public comment? If so, you can raise your hand. I see none. Oh, now I see two. We have Lonnie Lazar.
Oh,
You can unmute yourself.
hi, Lonnie.
I apologize. I just wanted you guys, hey there, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah, I just wanted you to know I'm here. I was on I got stuck in the city and was driving, and now I just got back to Forestville, but I'm here on Zoom.
He's obviously driving here.
Yeah.
as you know.
Thank you.
And he's gonna have trouble finding parking.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then we have another, Kristen. You can unmute yourself and speak.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Hawley. I came late to the meeting. I apologize. I live on Bay Avenue in Reno. My parents have had the house since 1950. My sister and I own it together now. And I've made numerous requests to have Bay Avenue fixed. And we did get a new drainage
Excuse me.
system down by Willow.
Excuse me. That's something that's on the agenda, so we're gonna get to that in a minute.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
That's okay. All
Okay,
right, thanks.
sorry.
Anyone else have a comment that's not on the agenda? Okay, fifth district update. Supervisor Hopkins, you're on Zoom, I believe.
I am. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. I apologize. I was very much looking forward to being there in person and actually bringing my 5-year-old there as well. And then when I went to get him all dressed up to come and see you all, it turned out that he had a fever of 101 degrees. So I am sparing him and you, the sick child, and appreciate the flexibility in participating via Zoom. A few updates. One, I actually want to provide an update regarding the local coastal plan, even though I recognize that this is the Lower Russian River Municipal Advisory Council, because there actually is some common area of, sort of river areas that are within the local coastal zone. And so on the next Thursday, the 18th at the Sea Ranch, and also available via Zoom, we will actually be having a formal local coastal plan update from Cecily Condon. I also met with Permit Sonoma Director Tennis Wick yesterday, and also his kind of right-hand man for planning, especially Scott Orr. And we anticipate the Coastal Commission meeting in Sonoma County in November to consider the local coastal plan. So wanted to mention that as well. Additionally, we've gotten quite a bit of feedback from our office about the proposed change that is being considered on next week's Board of Supervisors agenda regarding changing our park rangers from a peace officer status to a public officer status. And in fact, actually, there's been some illegal flyering and signs posted in some of our local parks about this subject that I don't think have very accurate information, unfortunately. So we are proposing to change them from peace officers to public officers, which is actually more reflective of what their job description is, which is primarily sort of educational, informational. They're also to provide safety information and also to issue administrative citations and potentially even arrests for misdemeanors. Those powers will not actually change as we shift them from peace officer to public officer. However, this is kind of allowing us to move forward with a collaborative partnership with the Sheriff's Office. And so also on Tuesday's agenda, we will be considering whether to support a memorandum of understanding between the Sheriff's Office and regional parks to hire 4 new sheriff's deputies plus a sergeant to be able to actually have greater deputy presence in our regional parks. And so I'm actually pretty excited about this because it will enhance our law enforcement in our regional parks. The other challenge is that for a peace officer training, there actually is no longer a local peace officer training for park rangers. And so they actually had to go out of state to get that, which means that we now have a 45% vacancy in our park ranger staff. So hopefully these changes will actually mean that we can fill those vacancies within the park rangers and also go ahead and upstaff the Sheriff's Office so that we actually have Sheriff's Office, Sheriff's deputies whose sole focus is really being out there in our regional parks. I know that we certainly could use that, especially in the Lower Russian River, given the kinds of crowds that we saw these past couple of weeks. I also did want to acknowledge another subject that came up in the media today between sort of IOLERO and the sheriff regarding sort of an inability to essentially come to agreement between IOLERO's attorneys and the sheriff's attorneys. Typically, we actually utilize sort of in-house county counsel for the different departments, but in this case, because of the conflict of interest, they actually both retained sort of independent non-county counsel attorneys who were unable to reach a conclusion about how to interpret Measure P. And so that will actually be going to a judge for determination and adjudication. If you have any questions, I can answer that to the best of my ability, acknowledging that I am not, in fact, an attorney. I also want to mention another action that the Board of Supervisors took on Tuesday, which is that we did actually decide on a 4-1 vote to modify the language for the ballot question for the CAFO initiative, which is Measure J. And we did so to actually comply with code that requires those ballot questions to be accurate. And so we actually eliminated language that pertain to water quality and animal welfare, which are not actually explicitly regulated or monitored by the measure, and just left the question simple and sort of focused on what the measure substance was. And that was a bit of a controversy at the board, but I'm also very happy to answer that. I really believe that we have to be truthful in ballot language, and that it should not be sort of embellished, or opinions don't belong in ballot language. With that, happy to answer any other questions. And I'm also really looking forward to the roads update.
Council, any questions?
So, Linda, it's Vicky, just for clarification, because I think this makes a big difference, to me at least, on the park ranger situation. So the training offered is different for park ranger versus peace officer, correct?
Yes, and it was actually only sort of offered out of state. However, the training for public officers will actually be more than 300 hours, and it will include everything from emergency medical response, strategic communications, de-escalation tactics, water and wildfire safety, public safety coordination, defensive driving. They will also still have high-low sirens, be able to assist with evacuations, enter disaster areas, and issue citations and arrests. But the reality is that even as peace officers, they would call deputies if something escalated because they didn't actually carry guns and they weren't actually part of the 911 dispatch system. So it's honestly sort of more of a naming thing. Yeah.
So is the public officer training different than the training that currently a park ranger gets?
They now don't have to do the training that requires actually going. A lot of folks actually went out of state to solicit and to seek the peace officer training, because it is no longer offered at the JC for park rangers. So it is a different training. However, there's still quite a bit in there.
And there are more public officer trainings available here then?
That is correct. Yep. And we're hoping that having the local training option will help us do better than a 45% vacancy rate in that position.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Linda, this is Cynthia, and my question has to do with the little bridge over Dutchville Creek. And if memory serves, we were told that once the weather got nice, that construction would begin on that bridge and that it would be done quite quickly. But nothing has begun. And so I wondered if you had an update on that.
I do not, but I am hoping that maybe public infrastructure might in terms of time.
Yeah, that might be a question for Janice.
That's not exactly the road.
But great question, and I appreciate that. That's a really critical piece of infrastructure. Oh, actually, if I might add one more update, because it is relevant to the Lower Russian River. Is that okay, Pip, through the chair?
Yeah.
I did want to mention that I met yesterday with a couple of members of the Sebastopol City Council, and also the Sebastopol City Manager and another member of their staff, as well as new consultants that have been hired to investigate an enhanced infrastructure financing district. And while this is primarily a partnership with the city of Sebastopol, it is also going to allow us to look at different boundaries, including boundaries around some of our unincorporated downtowns, which could include the Lower Russian River. And as a reminder, an enhanced infrastructure financing district is not a new tax. It is simply a form of tax increment financing. So it's like redevelopment 2.0. That would allow us to take a portion of property tax growth and then reinvest it into local communities, and to be able to bond against that so that we could actually make those investments upfront. We would not be seeking in this case contributions from any of our other local districts. I know that, for instance, the Russian River Park and Rec District is still hamstrung substantially financially by the former redevelopment agency. This would really just be county contributions. And so we are sort of having some preliminary conversations about what possible projects could be included, whether they are inside or outside of the city limits of Sebastopol. And I have flagged the need to turn our seasonal bridges into permanent bridges. I have also flagged, the major sort of infrastructure projects that we're looking at in Guerneville, looking at the sheriff's substation, fire station, and need for a community building as well. And so if there are any additional thoughts for sort of like, this is very, very preliminary, there's going to be, there's a consultant on board, they're going to be having community meetings, there will be future conversations about this. But if there are any kind of big ticket items, please feel free to let me know about that. And you can do that, via email or as part of the question and answer.
But
This is sort of ancillary to what you've said, Linda, but Vicky and I have been working on a one-page document that encapsulates the governance study. So these things, there might be some synergy then with the EIFD that's sort of a 2.0. We're working on that document to be handed out to people to keep that study kind of alive. And we're meeting again tomorrow at Farmers Market, just a couple of us to hone in on how to distill that document down to something that's tangible for all of us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's close. Thanks to Vicky's brain.
Editing brain.
No, brain.
I have a question about, and then this is Betsy, about what you just mentioned about the seasonal bridges. We've heard rumors for at least a couple of years about the summer bridge at Vacation Beach being made into a permanent bridge, and we all understand that that's a huge project. So from what you just said, we're looking way down the line. Am I correct?
We are, yeah, that's something that would take quite some time in terms of the financing and then of course the permitting. But to me, I would really love to roll in the costs that we are currently spending to set up and take down these things. And then the fact that we also have to argue, with CDFW and the regional board every time we don't take it down in time, right? Because we want to keep it open through our evacuation fire season. And they always are trying to get us to take it down, particularly on the sort of salmon run side of things. So it is a headache to sort of manage those bridges. And I think it would be great to move to a permanent solution.
That's a big concern in my neighborhood because, well, it's the whole Vacation Beach and all of them really, it's a second egress in any situation, because I can't imagine all of us evacuating Neely Road, in an hour if the fire is coming, for example. So thanks for advocating to keep the bridge up a little longer. But we're very interested in the long-term solution.
Any other council members? Anyone in the audience have questions about some of the things that Linda talked about? I know you hate it.
Hi, Linda, I hope your little one is feeling better. I heard you talk about Measure J, and I'm really interested in getting to the bottom of some of the misinformation. And I heard you say that from the ballot, water quality and animal welfare are going to be eliminated. And can you explain that, please? I think that's, did I misinterpret that, or is that what I heard you say?
That's correct. And it is just on the ballot question itself. So there will still be arguments for and against, and the proponents of Measure J will not be censored in any way, shape, or form. They have their right to make their case. But what was at question was the actual ballot question, where it says, shall voters approve, and then it provides a summary. And it is actually our legal obligation to ensure that that summary is factually accurate and is not misleading or misinformative. And so the measure itself was not actually about water quality or animal welfare. It is about the size of farms and closing a certain size farm down. And so any other sort of, everything else was essentially speculative. But for instance, it wouldn't actually improve animal welfare for any of the animals that weren't on farms that were shut down. And then also it didn't address sort of what would happen to the animals on farms that will be shut down. And nor did it have any kind of monitoring or mandatory improvements to water quality. water quality is actually already independently regulated by the regional water board. And so all we did was remove the clause that said, you know, and I can actually look up what it said. It's in the board packet, but that actually said that the measure was going to, you know, support and promote animal welfare and water quality. And I will actually pull it up so that I make sure that I have the precise language and I don't misquote it, but that was the general idea. And so that's what it was. There is still going to be, you will still have the full text of the ordinance. You will still have the arguments for and against. People are still welcome to campaign at will, but we wanted to make sure that the actual question presented to voters was accurate, an accurate summary of what the ordinance will do. And I'm happy to follow up if that wasn't clear enough. If you have any additional questions, let me know, and I'm going to pull it up so that I can get the language.
I wonder who is responsible for regulating the animal welfare of the larger farms in Sonoma County that would be impacted, and how that's being implemented, if it is at all.
That's a great question. And actually, we already have the most, I believe, stringent regulations in the nation, in the state of California, as a result of a statewide ballot initiative that was approved by voters that mandates, you know, certain minimum sizes for different types of livestock in terms of enclosures. And so, you know, for instance, if that had been on the ballot and it said, you know, to promote animal welfare, that would have been an accurate summary, because that was actually geared towards, you know, animals having specifically more space on farms. However, this was simply about, this ballot initiative is simply about prohibiting farms of a certain size. And so I will read what was the original ballot question language. It was, quote, to promote animal welfare, water quality, and other goals, should the county code be amended to prohibit, outside of the coastal zone, farms and other animal production operations that meet the definition of, quote, concentrated animal feeding operations, parentheses, CAFOs, as defined by federal regulations. And then it goes on. And so the only thing, the action that the Board of Supervisors took was to eliminate the clause to promote animal welfare, water quality, and other goals. One of my colleagues also had concerns about just the other goals, that that's not specific in any way, shape, or form, and that we really need to, you know, make sure that we have language that is precise and concise and accurately reflecting what is within the ordinance. So that was the action that was taken by the board. And it was based on, Elections Code section 13119, subdivision C, which requires that the statement of the measure shall be a true and impartial synopsis of the purpose of the proposed measure, and shall be in language that is neither argumentative nor likely to create prejudice for or against the measure. And we felt like those were disputable arguments that could be made, and that they were likely to create prejudice sort of in favor of the measure. And so we tried to strip that language out in order to ensure a balanced perspective. I apologize for interrupting, Chair.
My specific question was, who is overseeing the animals that they're being, the abuse piece?
So we do, if there's any kind of a case of alleged animal abuse, that is investigated by animal services, and we have you know, escalated that and sort of taken court action in cases of animal abuse. And sometimes it gets to, you know, the level of a district attorney. Other times it's sort of, you know, settled at a less high level.
And it's complicated.
Yeah, actually, you would know probably more than me, Chair.
Sorry. Anyone else have a question, comment on what we're at my opportunity covered? Excuse me, I have a nut in my throat.
My fault.
No?
And I don't see any hands raised online. If there's anybody that has a comment or question for Supervisor Hopkins, now would be the time to raise your hand. No. But before we move from this item,
Yeah.
can I give a quick staff
Yeah.
update? So two things that I wanted to mention, the appointment process for 2025-26 is going to be getting started soon. I put at each of your seats a draft version of the flyer. If you have any feedback or input as a representative, because we really want to characterize what it means and sort of like preempt some of the questions, like what does it mean to be a math rep? You can get, we don't have to get into it now, but get in touch with me. We're gonna be finalizing this in the coming week or so and making it, translating into Spanish as well, and then getting that out. It'll be, application deadline will be the end of August. And we're just looking to get everything wrapped up, early, or mid-October, so it doesn't get lost in the general election, buzz that'll be happening around that time. So, we're getting this ready, and then those of you that do tabling, I can get a supply to you to table, and we can get them posted here and there and everywhere. And then also just to follow up from our last meeting, Mike had a suggestion to agendize a discussion about getting more attendance at things like the public safety meeting that we recently had. And what I'm gonna do is put together a quick survey, just to send out to all of you about your take and any opinions you have on what we could do to encourage more attendance at something like that. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's just for the MAC Council and alternates. And then, yeah, and then that'll just help inform trying to come up with some ways to increase attendance.
And if I can just add to that, look at the questionnaire and also ask the people that live in your neighborhoods. Because they will provide input on the subject as well, and you can put that in.
Right, and if it's, I didn't know it was happening, share that back, but just all the information we can get, then that can help us.
Well, you know, the Concom dealt with this over and over again when we were originally doing the tabling, trying to push information out. And that is how we came up with the community engagement ideas on how to do that. So I would encourage everybody to look at the community engagement plan again, and then think of it in terms of your own community and what else we could do.
Okay.
Can I just ask one thing about this, or should I like do it offline?
This is outlined since,
Okay.
to stay on schedule, and it was an agenda item.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to pavement preservation.
This is where you stand, so. And I should just let you know too, all the council members just have one of these in front of them, the 2022-25 roads, the list of the roads from 2020 to 25, so.
Okay. All right, great. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Janice Thompson and I don't know where to look. So I'll do that, and then we'll get straight in. I'm the Deputy Director at Sonoma County Public Infrastructure, and I oversee the paving program. And I want to start by saying thank you for booking an air-conditioned room this evening. It's kind of nice. So I'll give you a general overview of the paving program, and then following the format of that's been laid out here. So the county is lucky enough to have tremendous support from the Board of Supervisors to develop what we consider to be a very robust paving program. The general fund that's donated to us by the board is one of the highest in the state. So let me just tell you, I know there is a thought that gas tax pays for paving, and I want to let you know that it accounts for less than 10% of our current paving program. So 50% comes from the general fund, Board of Supervisors. About 25% comes from the state proposition, Senate Bill 1, SB 1, that voters approved back in 2016. And the remaining 25 is made up of a variety of sources, one of which is gas tax. But again, it represents a very small amount of money. The county maintains 1,368 miles of road. And 41% of those roads is in District 5. We have established a 2-year paving program. We take the list of roads to the Board of Supervisors the year prior to the 2-year program and get that approved. What goes into determining the selection of roads is also a variety of things. Every 2 years, we have an engineering consulting team that goes out and evaluates the roads. And they score it based on a system called the Pavement Condition Index. It assigns a number from 1 to 100 for the roads. So roads are evaluated every 2 years. They kind of do half the county the first year and the other half the county the second year. And that is input into a computer software program that is used statewide, local agencies, cities. So that's called Street Saver. And from that, the condition of the roads, then the Board of Supervisors back in 2014 approved the long-term road plan. And in that long-term road plan were some characteristics of how we prioritize the selection of roads. So things like traffic volume. So the higher volume roads are a higher priority. Roads to important community services are prioritized. Things like hospitals, libraries, urgent care centers, community needs, bike lanes, tourism, the functional classification of a road. So a variety of factors go into the computer program. Priorities are selected every 2 years. We present that list to the Board of Supervisors, and they do a little massaging if they wish to, and then we have an approved list of roads. I think that was all I had planned to say, and can open it up for questions.
Mike,
Good to see you again, Karen.
Good to see you.
Hey, I had a question, based upon your prioritization, you're talking about, using traffic volume, community services, bike lanes, tourism. But I didn't hear you say evacuation routes. Is that a consideration?
So it's becoming more and more of one, but I don't want to, the answer is not no.
Yeah.
It's just that evacuation routes for us are difficult to determine and define because we never know where the disaster is going to be. Are you going to need to go to the left, or are you going to need to go to the right? So as a department, we don't love determining and signing and defining things as evacuation routes. And
Correct.
We do go with the road classifications, those higher volumed, higher classified roads. But we all know, and that's part of where this does go to the supervisor's office, understanding communities and the various needs of roads.
As a follow-up, I sent you a note this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
I didn't get it.
But it was with regard to the bridge deck repairs that are going on with 24 bridges throughout the county.
Yes.
And we missed one bridge in Casadero. And your road crews for the last 9 years have been out laying asphalt down, and 3 weeks later, the asphalt lifts and we're back at it. And the problem becomes a safety issue because people are crossing the double yellow line to avoid having major misalignment problems with their vehicles. So, if we could take a look at the possibility of patching those deep potholes with a resident concrete, land, that would be really, really helpful, so. I'd appreciate it if you guys could take a look at that. Thank
Great,
you.
we can take a look at it, and let me tell you, there I have 24 bridges, as you've said, in
Yeah.
this current project, of which the county maintains 328.
Right,
So just sharing that from a perspective.
we appreciate that, it just that, you know, after 9 years of road crews coming out every 2 months. It seems that would be a lot more cost effective if we could just patch those holes and we could avoid that added expense for the critical road, crew.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Hi, Janice, I'm Vicky. Did you bring paint to that?
Well, I have a bag in my car.
I got you. That's not my question though. So in terms of traffic volume, what concerns me about that is, and maybe this isn't at least too much, but I'd love to understand more about how that's quantified, because I live on River Drive, which is a very short, couple of blocks, but it fronts the county park, Forestville Beach access. And there's a tremendous amount of traffic during part of the year right now, for example. Right, so is that taken into account? And if it is, then, I would suggest, of course, that you are looking at tourism spots and highlighting them a little.
Yeah.
It's almost terrifying to me that we have people coming from all over the county to go to the beach and they're, falling in potholes and it's just, it seems to me that anywhere you have a county point of interest, that there should be a little extra highlighting of that.
Yeah, I would say that based on the fact that it does lead to a park and a beach, that it would count towards the tourism priority.
Okay. I want to get us on the list first.
I'm guessing no one else does.
Lisa?
So Janice, my question is, in your experience, what's the best way for roads that don't score as high and get on the list? Is it to call to do SoCo Connect and say, come fill in the pothole, or what's your experience of how
Great
these
question.
roads get into the?
Yeah, so two different things, right? So absolutely, well, I'm gonna encourage you to write notes to me on both subjects, but the pothole thing, that is a road maintenance issue.
Right.
So that's kind of the other side of our house, which is the maintenance side. And so we have a variety of ways for you to report it, SoCo Connect, our website, phone numbers, that kind of thing. So please report those.
Yeah.
And then your other question of how to add a road for consideration is emailing your supervisor's office, and then they give it to us. We do maintain a list of requests for paving. And it's very long,
I'm sure.
and we don't have the funding, but we're doing what we can.
And in our case, I'll just interject, you can email Che, he oversees that, yeah.
And, sorry. Can I have one more?
Yep.
Okay, what's the interplay with Caltrans for paving, et cetera? 'Cause of course, Forestville is untreated Caltrans, so you have no, what's the?
Right, so I don't have jurisdiction over Caltrans.
Right.
So if it's a maintenance thing,
Right.
it would be the same thing, right?
Right.
You want to contact Caltrans maintenance
Right.
or Caltrans for
Is there,
paving.
yeah, is there a person, is there a number, or is there information?
Oh, I don't have it
Okay.
with or on me, but you can email Che and we'll get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I have two small questions. One is about culverts. I live on Neely Road. Thank you very much. We love our road.
We're all jealous.
And orchard and environments happening now, which I saw a terrible Kernville local post today where everyone's complaining about it. What are you complaining about? Anyway, culverts. There's a culvert in my neighborhood. I'm way at the end of Neely. That had a pipe, and I know that they did a lot of culvert work when they redid the road. But this one was completely ignored. There's a pipe that's about 25, maybe 50, somewhere in that neighborhood long, that's completely clogged. And it floods the entire street for yards. Probably 20 to 30 yards. And pours it this side of the hill as well. And when we reported it to SoCo Connect with photos of the lagoon that forms there, they came out and dug on top of the pipe. But the pipe needs to be removed and or replaced. And how can we get help on that?
Yeah, I would email Shay and he and I would work it out.
Okay. I have another brief question. I found the Argonaut guys to be very responsive when we called with questions and when we called with, I have to get out to the doctor, whatever. But the one small complaint that we have is they left behind a lot of these plastic marker floofies everywhere.
Is that the official name?
I don't know what else to call them. These little marker thingies. And so what do we do about that? Should we call them?
No, you should call us again.
Okay.
Use Shay, he'll
I mean, this is plastic.
get it.
Yeah.
That's why I want you to tell me, but
Okay.
right away,
Okay,
while I'm still under contract,
okay,
so I can make this.
yeah,
contract.
okay, good.
Now, I don't know, so we'll work on it,
Okay,
but call me right away.
okay. Well, they were still doing culvert work, Steve, a couple of months ago. So we assumed that they would come back and. Pick it up.
We rely on you to tell us what's
Okay.
going on.
Okay, I'll complain.
Okay. Write me a note.
Okay.
That's what I heard you say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more. I just have a thank you. And then
Yeah,
I'll speak.
yeah.
I thank you because we have a meeting at the end of July with Shay and Johannes and Olivia to go over the downtown Forestville meeting
Yep.
on July 30th. So that's a gratitude and thank you.
Great, thank you.
Is there any way that people can check to see whether or not their road has been put on a list, either for repaving or even just for potholes? I had some constituents call me a week or so ago. I live on Duncan Road in Monte Rio. They live on the other end of it. It's kind of a horseshoe road and the middle of it's all washed out. So in reality, it's two separate roads. But you came and filled in a bunch of potholes on my side, which was wonderful, but not on the other side. And so needless, and they feel like they have called and, done things, and so they don't know what else to do.
Yeah, we maintain a list of work requests that come in, so you can always email us and check on maintenance work requests, do you
Okay.
have some requests at this location and what's the status of them? And your other question was the roads, so it gets approved by the Board of Supervisors every 2 years. So the next one will be in 2025, probably sometime in the spring, but again, you can work with Che from Supervisor Hopkins' office.
Well, and the list of roads to be repaved is on that site,
Mhm.
on the pavement preservation side.
Yeah,
So it lists all
okay.
of it. Yeah.
Okay, but if they were to get their road on this list, it would not be until 2025, 26.
2025 will establish
The next
26,
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like a long way?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not.
Yes, but it's not.
Okay,
And Cynthia, you have this at your seat
I-
too, and those
yeah.
are the ones that are on the
I
current.
understand.
Oh, okay,
I understand, yeah, we're not on it.
so I have, we'll get to public inspect. We talked before,
Yes.
I'm from Reedy Oaks. And you guys have done a lot of work out there lately, and I sincerely appreciate that. One set of roads that is awful there is the Canyon 6. What's the?
Oh.
No, the one next to it, Sequoia, I'm sorry, Sequoia Loop. Johannes has been out a couple times. We tried, and you guys tried to get FEMA money for it before. We actually had it on the list for the board of supervisors to approve that road before. And maybe I was a dummy. I said, it's probably a bad idea to repave these roads because they're just gonna deteriorate because of drainage issues. So it was actually pulled off the list from my fault, right? Because it didn't make sense without doing, and Johannes agreed with that and all of that. But I've been told we're gonna look at different ways to do it, and this has been a few years now. And I'd just like to get an update, because I know it was on his radar, Linda's been out there as well. But it causes so many issues with not only the road itself, but the way that the water comes down off of that canyon feeds into Canyon 7, and it causes flooding lower down as well. So PB Golf is in danger, other things are in danger, because water's not coming down right, and you can't even drive very well going up.
Yeah, so I don't have a specific update except to say that Supervisor Hopkins has set aside some community infrastructure and drainage in Rio Neato is one of the areas,
Right.
the specifics of which we haven't defined.
Okay.
So send us.
Okay.
It keeps it here,
I'm usually a pest about
not pests,
it.
all good.
Is your email address, I'm sorry, Department of Transportation at SonomaCounty.org?
No, it's Che.Kazoo. It's my name, Janice Thompson at Sonoma-County.org.
Yes, did you have any update on the small bridge?
Yeah.
In Montreal?
Yeah, we're waiting for environmental permits. Fingers crossed. We need to get them in a month or we cannot begin. Because what we have to do is form, pour, and cure concrete by October 15. So if we cannot start on August 15, we can't start. So we await permits and we are bugging our resource agencies for those permits.
Okay, we're gonna move to audience. Get on the ads.
And Janice, you can have a seat because any public comment, if there's responses, you can do at the very end, not in real time.
Janice, I live off of Neely. Thank you for the reconstruction. It saved a lot of money in chiropractic bills. And now the sides, roads are also being addressed. So I fit into none of, my road fits into none of the high categories. However, it is crumbling, it is melting. The Argonaut crew used our road for, which our road is, you know, a block less than. And it's a dead end, so it doesn't hit any of the check of the boxes. But they used the road to store their heavy equipment and supplies, and you know, that added to some of it, some of the crumbling and wreckage. But it's also just a poorly built road. I'm wondering if the best way to address that is to go through SoCal. I tried to address it with Argonaut when they were there with all of their equipment, personnel, and materials, but that was a no-go, understandably why. And now I want it to be added to the list as well, Benson Road, because they're there. And it just prudently doesn't make any sense to the finances part to go all over and then to avoid our street again. So what is the best way to get it on the list?
We're gonna go through the public comments and then Janet will address at the
And
end.
also to just appeal to the MAC and to the supervisor. You know, our road is small and some of the others are too. They're certainly not canyons.
I
But,
would include Larkwood as well.
and Mark.
Okay, Marcy, and then we'll, Marcy.
Hi Janice, I'm Marcy and I live in Rainito. And I've been on
Just
that.
go with me.
No. I don't-
That would be a nightmare.
I get that point back. So anyway, I've been one of the founding members of the Friends of Rainito. We started talking about our roads in Rainito in 2012. I have been through many public works departments. I've been through many managers, showing many people the roads, and this was long before Pip got there. And we just want to make sure that people understand that our roads, almost all of them are drainage. They're not roads, they're all drainage into these other roads. And we flood frequently. And I'm looking at the map here online of the things that have been scored from streets. What was it called? Street Saver? And there's stuff that's wrong, absolutely wrong here. So my first question is how do we get this reevaluated? Because I'm looking at Canyon One right in front of my house, which is green, not green. It is, we put in pothole requests all the time for it. And so that's one of my first questions is how do we get things reevaluated quickly? And my other question is when we do put things through SoCo report it, they just come and fill it with no prep work whatsoever, kind of like what you were saying. And we have no warning when they're gonna do it, and they fill over what is now just road base. My road in front of just in my house, because it's right, I see it every day, is completely road base, there is no pavement left. And so they come in and they fill it, and they don't even fill it all the way. And it's just filled over stuff that is gonna immediately fill out. So my one last question is people are willing to spend their own money on Rainito to pave the roads? Is there a way we can do that? Can we generate our own fundraising for our own roads? So that's my two questions.
All right, thanks, Marcy.
That's
Best
all
of,
good math.
best of.
Two things. One is repeat. The distance between Mirabel and River intersection and Steelhead Beach has gotten that much worse this year. It is so dangerous. The cars in my neighborhood, we had no parking signs put up. Yes, and all that did was push people onto both sides of Mirabel Road, both sides of River Road, and down into Trenton Road by Spears Market. People are there with their floaters, their children, their pets, and they're out into the road partly because there's so much vegetation on the deteriorated vegetation from the curb to the road in what would be the, what do you call it, from the fog line out to the edge, that people are walking more into the road. So even just picking up all of that vegetation would make a difference. That would be one, but the other thing is really there needs to be something done for the people who are visiting Steelhead Beach. It's increasing in popularity, so that's a tourist thing. Therefore, it would seem that tourist dollars would be applied to that particular stretch and the roads nearby, increasing parking, doing something to save these lives and their bodies from being hit. The other one, which is, because I know my time is limited, is this the question along the lines of, in my neighborhood, we have a road that has been taken off of for use, but yet it still exists as a road-based road and vegetation grew over it, but the neighbors cleared all of that because of fire risk. But when the insurance companies came by and said, that's, you live on a dead-end road, therefore you just lost your insurance, it's not really a dead-end road. And you can look on the parcel map of Kermit Sonoma and you can see that it's actually a road that's there. People are going to just simply do it themselves and open up that road. But the concept is, would that qualify for an insurance, get their insurance back or take the new insurance company? Can they open up a road that has been closed, but is still on the maps?
Anyone else in the audience here physically? Online, do we have?
Yes, we do have one hand raised, and if you are online and you have a question or public comment, you can raise your hand now. I will unmute Kristen. Now you can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I apologize for jumping in earlier. Like I said, I came late to the party. My name is Kristen Hawley. I live on Bay Avenue in Rainito. And I'm just chiming in with everybody else's concern and questions about the potholes and chuck holes. Bay Avenue, surprisingly, this year had a new drainage ditch put in because the water that came down from Hay Lane and Bay Avenue was flooding Willow Road. And so now they've made this culvert there. We're almost a civilized country there now, that goes straight into the creek, which is nice for us. But the upper part of Bay Avenue still has chuckles and
She's gone.
Probably Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
She's still in the room, but we can't hear her.
Kristen, if we get you back, we'll come back to you. We're gonna go on the next person, but if we don't get back to you, you can talk to me about what's going on at Bay Willow, and I'll get it to Shay.
And we have, David with a hand raised. David, if you unmute.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Okay, cool. I just wanted just a quick comment to piggyback on what Marcy said about the condition of the roads just being primarily all drainage channels for the most part. And I'm sure that everyone involved knows about this, but I just wanted to add my voice to the chorus of people asking for a lot more attention in Rio Neto, and especially to try and work on getting the culverts repaired in a number of spots. Pip is pretty aware of a lot of where they are, so that the patchwork that gets taken place over these roads isn't just a waste of time and money. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Should we try Kristen? Well, there are no other hands raised. Kristen's hand is not raised.
Okay. Kristen, you can talk to me as well. Just want to get you back. So do you want to address, hope you have the list.
So I don't have a pen with me, so if someone was taking notes and use some prompts.
Well, when we open up a road that was closed.
We can look into that. You can email me. And we can look into it.
Okay, and is anything going to be done about the crowds going to Steelhead Beach that have no place to walk along the road?
So Regional Parks has a shuttle.
It's not enough.
So Regional Parks has a shuttle.
And they use it very heavily. Yes. And then my concern would also be, or maybe the possibility is right now, because Alpha High School is not a high school, it's a parking lot. in essence, And half of it is,
Okay.
part of the parking lot is being used by tree trucks.
Debbie's
You know,
got the
renting it.
questions.
So there's less places for people. to
Hey,
park.
Beth.
Debbie's got the question.
She does have the question, so we're gonna have Debbie go.
Yeah, I
through
took
what?
some notes on my fancy new device. Well, I'm gonna skip the questions about how to get on the list, because we've covered that. You email our office, we'll get you on the list. And I've written down the names of the roads, so I can help with that. But other questions? Marcy had the Street Saver app, which is very cool. I want to be able to pull that up. How can people provide feedback about things that they see in that Street Saver map that is incorrect?
Yeah, so a couple things. Street Saver is a software program we use to evaluate roads. So I'm not sure what she's.
Okay,
looking at.
all
There
right.
might be a county or county website that classifies roads and things. And so again, email me.
Well, so the question is just, is there a consultant or an engineer that can come and reevaluate roads that are wrong?
Well, what's wrong?
So, we're getting into the details of one road in particular, which it feels like a waste of time. But if there's a way to like submit errors, I work in tech.
Yeah.
So if there was a way to submit errors that are on that page where those maps are, that might be a good thing to implement. Because it's just purely who else the engineer went out there.
part of our road was paved, but not the whole road, but now it looks like the whole road's paved, so nobody, it's never gonna be on your list. Right?
So for the sake of time, I know a lot of these questions need to be done offline. You can't do back and forth during public comment. It's just not, and so, I think like the baseline question is if there's something that you don't get answered during tonight, email our office and we'll figure it, because the back and forth, it's a Brown Act violation, and it also doesn't keep us on track for timing, and there'll be a lot. We'll run way over time.
Can you give the email for people?
District 5, you can just send it to district5@sonoma-county.org, and then we will triage it. It'll probably be Che, but I think his inbox is probably already full after tonight.
Or you, for those that live in all of our districts, you can email us.
You
We
can
are in
also,
contact.
right, for specific types of questions. So there were a lot of questions about how do we get our specific issue fixed? So for those, I would say reach out to us, because Janice isn't gonna fix it tonight. And then let's see, yeah, and there was just, a lot of input from Rio Nito, about the roads and the drainage channels, and that's something that you are aware of.
We're starting.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else from public comment that needs to be responded to.
How about the option that you talked about private citizens paying for their Riviera County roads?
Yeah, there is a way, it's very complicated. So it's called a road assessment. So that's where you more is an assessment district and you have to develop. So, it's doable. Okay.
And that can get, that could get incorporated into the governance solutions.
Yes.
So roads does come up in that, and so when community neighborhood groups talking about different governance solutions come up, road assessment district, that's something that you
Very
consider.
popular. No one wants to tax themselves. When you actually see the prices, it's, popular road, up fast.
I know.
So the answer to the question, if you want to pay for the road in front of you, you can't do it right now. You'd have to go through this process, right? Yes, okay.
I just wanted to know where we can find the pavement condition index. That's interesting. Like to Google it?
Website.
Is it? Okay, all right.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the web, sorry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is, just so you know, this is like, this is I go to community meetings all the time. This is the number one thing that I get raised with. But my point is, I want you to know that, at least, I'm not gonna speak for everyone, that I understand the complexity of what you do, the resources that you have. And what you can and can't do in certain amounts of time. I completely appreciate that. But listening to the issues is half the battle, so I appreciate you doing that as well.
Thank
So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll make you.
Okay. We're gonna move on to community and community project report. The plus infrastructure recommendations ad hoc final report is in the packet. I know we went through the survey last time, so I don't think we need to go through all that again. If you have any questions about what's written in here, then bring them up now. Council, anyone? No? Public? On Gurdon Road Plaza infrastructure recommendation.
I don't see any hands raised. This is also what Joe reported on last
Yes,
time. We
exactly.
just didn't have anything in writing
In
to
writing.
kind of close out and dissolve the ad hoc.
Right. So now that project is going to, a design phase, correct, based on input and based on other things, so it's moving along, so that's
Yeah.
great. Community stewardship project. There is a written report in the packet. I hope everyone had a chance to read it, so if you have any questions about what's in there. Now's the time to ask. Council members?
I move to accept the report. As written.
Anybody? Okay. And with that, we are
No way.
done.
See what happens when you get notes?
Wow.